let's get into our final topic, and that is Source to Porch. Blythe Milligan here, Grace Sharkey. Everything is Logistics, presented by SBI Logistics. And my Source to Porch story for this week or for this month is Liquidation. I am not pronouncing that right, but the cookware line. You know what I'm
Yes.
talking about?
Yeah.
The cookware line.
Yeah.
Cast iron, enamel cast iron, like a very, very like hand, I don't want to say like hand me down products, but cookware that's investable, that
Yeah.
you would keep this and you would hand it down to your children, like that kind of cookware. Well, we covered earlier in the show a lot around the different manufacturing process. Well, manufacturing process also affects the cookware industry, because I want to show you how this cookware is made, and then I'll get into some of the importance around it. So let me play this quick video from the Wall Street Journal on how Le Cuisant's iconic cast iron is made.
Creuset's factory, where its iconic Dutch oven is made. First, a giant magnet lifts up a mix of iron and steel and moves it to a cauldron, where it's melted down to a very bright liquid. That's poured into sand molds, which will form the shape of the product. Once they're cooled, the cast iron moves along this conveyor belt to shake off any excess sand.
All along the way, workers are checking for any bumps or inconsistencies that could cause hot spots when you're cooking with it at home. Any pot with a flaw is taken off the line, melted down, and the process starts all over again.
When the cast iron's ready, it's sprayed with an initial primer coat of enamel, and then the rim is wiped clean with a sponge. It may look simple, but it can take up to 2 months to train for this job. If you apply too much pressure, you could ruin the enamel coating, and you have to keep pace with the production line. Once the pots are sprayed with their second coat, they're put in a giant oven that turns the sort of dusty matte coating into the colored glass enamel you'll find in the store.
Okay, so that's how they're made. So I figured that would be a good part to include in this process of how they're actually made. But what I think is incredibly fascinating, and I don't think that it's made its way over to Reels yet, so you probably haven't seen this. This is more of like a
Yeah.
TikTok thing. But it's called their factory to table events and how they handle excess inventory. And so essentially the way it works is that they have all of this excess inventory and they sell tickets to events all over the country. In order to get inside of the event, you have to pay you pay for a ticket. And then once you're inside, or even ahead of time, you can also have access to what's called a mystery box. And so with their cookware, what they've done is that you pay to get in. So you get access to all of this like sort of seasonal or like rare to find different pots and pans and cookware. And they're all heavily discounted. But then the mystery box angle is you pay, I think, like $150, but you have no idea what's going to be inside of this box. And so what happens is that there's a lot of people that are only going to this event just to get the mystery box, because the mystery boxes can be incredibly valuable. And so there's like
Yeah.
this secondary economy that is popping up outside of the events in the parking lots, where people get their mystery boxes, they go into the parking lot, and people just start opening up their boxes to kind of see what they have. They're recording it, they're posting it to TikTok. It's incredibly viral type content. But then this secondary economy is popping up to where people are buying and trading the mystery box items in the parking lot of where the events are taking place. So it creates this level of like viral marketing for this excess inventory that Le Cuisant is getting the marketing benefits out of it. And they're also selling off a lot of this extra inventory. Remarkably, it's done remarkably well. Until recently, where they had an event in Cleveland, I think it was Cleveland, and the mystery boxes were not good. Like, people paid like $150 and they got like a single dish or like a butter dish. Like, they were not impressive, and it had the complete opposite effect, where all of these
Weird.
people who were so like rabid fans for this brand now, and these tickets to these factory to farm events or factory to table events are selling out all across the country. Really, they have global events as well. And so it created this like negative feedback where Le Cuisant had to shut down the comments on a lot of their social media posts because it went so bad. And then, so you have this, they did recently have another event, they got back to form. And so they don't necessarily have to worry about this, as you know, the internet let them know. But it was a sort of drama and like a PR disaster around it. And so I'd been planning on covering this topic for a little bit, but a friend of the show, Jen Morris with Ship Happens, she actually had an email newsletter that went out recently that talked about this, that talked about sort of the advertising side of things and talked about it from, getting rid of like excess inventory. And she had a few different takeaways, which I thought were really fascinating. Because if you think about it from like the lens of like a Burberry, the company, when they have excess inventory, they fry it. They burn it up, they shred it, they cut it up because they don't want the pores to have access
Yeah.
to their inventory. They want to keep that luxury image. And so one of Jen's takeaways in her article, and I'll link to it in the show notes, of course, but by rethinking how excess stock is handled, they preserve their luxury image. They reduced warehousing and transport costs. They collected direct consumer data, and they turned liquidation into engagement and content. And I thought that is a perfect summary for this sort of source to porch segment, where we can figure out, it sort of ties into the rare earths that are needed to make this type of cookware. This type of cookware is, if you've never used it before, it is one of those things where it makes a dramatic impact. Like my soups and broths and sauces that I make, I use it in that type of cookware, and it makes a dramatic difference. But they're able to take a lot of their excess inventory or even like special items, rare items, and create sort of a fanatical environment around it that creates social media awareness, brand awareness, gets rid of that excess inventory, and still, like Jen says, maintains their luxury image. So I thought that was an interesting take on sort of the mystery box economy, and how that's sort of the thrill of the hunt from a retail perspective. I think is a very smart play, where you have, like TJ Maxx or a Marshalls, where it's that thrill of the hunt is what Le Creuset has captured here. And I just thought that was an interesting story to share. So hopefully you enjoyed that too.
We love a mystery box. Heck yeah.
Who doesn't love a mystery box? Okay. All right, Grace, I know you have to run out. So that does it for this Source to Porch segment. So any final thoughts, anything you want to leave the audience with, where to find you, find more of your work?
Head over to orderful.com if you're looking to speak to an EDI expert. Check out our LinkedIn page to figure out what events we'll be at next. We'll be at Trimble next, Trimble Insights. That cat was about to knock over a glass of water. And yeah, that's it. I appreciate it, Blythe.
Awesome. Well, it was another great show. So we'll see you next month, and we'll do a little maybe more holiday themed issues.
Yeah, dress up as
like what we
turkeys.
have here. Yeah, there you go.